it's Jessie G here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's episode. This is episode number 19, Holy Toledos. This is also the second part to the Shanann Watts case, Chris Watts case. I hope you guys took a lot from the first episode. I'm just going to kind of continue where we left off in the last episode and just kind of continue with the story and then kind of go into the discussion. But before we go into today's topic, you guys saw a disclaimer and 2 warnings pop up or flash on the screen, however I put it. And you guys saw those pop up. I'm going to go ahead and give those out again so you guys get kind of a second heads up before I go into today's topic. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be interfering. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor for fair use. If you are triggered or sensitive by any of the topics that are talked about in today's episode, I highly recommend you don't listen to today's episode. But if you do choose to listen to today's episode, I highly recommend you listen to it with your emotional support system, like your significant other, your partner, your husband, your wife, your best friend, a parent, somebody you trust enough to be your emotional support system and listening to this episode. If you are under the age of 18, this is not an episode for you guys to be listening to. This is the age warning you guys will get for that. There are other episodes to watch. There's other videos to watch on my channel. You feel free to look at those, but this is a true crime episode that's not for minors' ears. So without further ado, let's get into it. Excuse me, apologies for that. Much apologies. We kind of left off where I was kind of talking about the friction between Shanann and Chris, the marital issues that they were having and how she started to notice a change. She really didn't start really fully noticing a change until he met her in North Carolina the last week in July. He had met with her and the 2 kids, and they were going to fly home together. When he got there, he really wasn't acting himself. He wasn't being as intimate as he normally is around her. She started to just notice the littlest things that he would do around her he wasn't doing, and she just started to notice the friction between them. But she kind of just kept up this persona of this just being happy, and trying not to let the kids know that something was going on between her and their father. So, kind of being protective of the kids, kind of like how parents are. And, divorces are pretty nasty, as I was talking about in the first episode. Sometimes 99.9% of divorces don't end on even ground. They don't always end very well. They don't end on good circumstances. They always end up on a bad circumstances sometimes. And sometimes there can be a lot of friction between trying to compromise with things. It's a really big mess. And he was telling Nicole Kessinger, like I was talking about, the woman he was seeing, that he was in the process of the divorce, of a separation from his wife. But the thing of it is that I started to notice that Shanann didn't know anything about it. I don't think she was even really aware of it, or if she was, she really just was putting on a really brave persona face, which I can't say I really blame her for doing that. When they got home, she started to notice it even more. And when she went on her business trip, she left at 4 a.m. on August 2018. She left for her trip. Nicole Atkinson picked her up. Her best friend picked her up at 4 p.m. She was out on the porch waiting because, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm pretty sure she didn't want to wake up her kids or Chris. So she had left and was getting on the plane, and I think she was talking to Chris, and she was still having this moment of trying to figure out what she did wrong, and whatnot. And she had previously texted him on the trip that she went to go see her parents with before she came home, that she felt that in order for her to come home with him that week, he had to meet her halfway. This can't be a one-way relationship or one-way emotions. It can't be that way, and he assured her that wasn't going to be that way. But that wasn't the case when she went on her business trip, because during that business trip, he told the both of them that he was going to I think it was like a baseball or softball game, but little did they know that he was taking Nicole Kessinger out on a date, and they were going out to dinner after that, I'm assuming. But she didn't know that. And he had a babysitter to watch Cece and Bella. So he also stopped at the convenience store that showed the camera of him getting money to pay the babysitter and to leave, and he left. And it showed him leaving the convenience store. Nicole also texted him and told him that was fast. He said, yeah, I even had time to get money to pay the babysitter. Once he got home that night, she also got her bank statement, and she noticed that Chris had spent $60. Well, at the Lazy Dog Cafe where he was at, what he got, a beer and his food, was only $30, but she didn't know where the other $40 went. It wasn't like him. But Chris, in his statement that he made to the detective, he wasn't hiding the fact that he was seeing somebody else. He just wasn't saying it to her. On August the 13th, 2018 at 2 p.m., Shanann Watts arrives home at her house in Fredericksburg, Colorado. The ring light security camera or whatever security they had picked up her coming up to the door and going into the house. In his statement of how the night happened, or the early morning hours happened, he felt her get into bed. He said that he felt her hands on her, and they kind of got intimate with each other, so to speak. And sometime during the night, he woke up, and he felt that it was the last straw. He knew that he wasn't hiding anything from her. He was seeing somebody else, but he wasn't going to tell her that, obviously. But he just knew it was the last straw. And he told her, in his words, that this wasn't going to work anymore, and that he didn't love her. And during the midst of him saying that, she said, what about last night? What was that? And she said, I knew there was somebody else. Get off me. You're never going to see your kids, and blah, blah, blah. And during the moments of her saying that and them talking to each other, he put his hands around her neck and basically choked Shanann to death. The part that makes this so messed up, it's such a tragic, is after he had ultimately killed Shanann, she was face down in the bed, and one of her daughters came into the room with a blankie and asked if mommy was okay. And their dad lied and said that she was okay, mommy's fine. I can't imagine being 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, and walking into the room and not knowing that your mom or dad is somebody's dead, and you don't know it, and not fully understanding what's going on. And it's sad because the girls were scared. They didn't know what was going on. There was a camera that was across the neighbor's street, picked up Chris getting into his gray truck and pulling out and pulling the back end towards the garage door, but you couldn't really tell or couldn't really see him put Shanann's body in there, and the two girls were in the back seat of the truck. And he said it took anywhere from an hour to 45-minute drive to where he was going, and both of the girls were sitting back there with their blankets holding on to each other in the back seat. and he described that Cece was first, and then when he went to smother Bella, Bella was screaming, "No, Daddy," and he could remember that, and he ultimately took his children's life, his wife's life, and terminated the pregnancy that she was carrying Nico, and he had buried Shanann in one of the grounds not too far from the water tanks, and he had put the kids in the water tanks, and he showed them where to find the kids, and where to go and all that, and he confessed to the murders. And on November of that year, Chris Watts was found guilty of first-degree murder. He had 3 counts of first-degree murder and an unlawful termination of Nico Watts, and he was given the death penalty at the time. In 2020 of last year, the death penalty in Fredericksburg, Colorado was taken off, and they gave Chris Watts a sentence of life imprisonment. He's still serving out his time in prison. He's still in prison to this day. He will not be paroled or be able to leave the prison at all, ever. It was also stated from an inmate that he was talking to Chris about why he did it, and he told the inmate this kind of spoof type of thing of he didn't want his kids, he didn't want the baby she was carrying, he didn't want to have to pay child support, and the standard dumb lines that criminals give, basically, and that's what he was given to him. And it's just really sad because when I was watching the docu-series, the only emotions that were shown in that courtroom was Shanann's parents and Chris's parents. His leg was bobbing up and down. You could tell he was nervous. You couldn't even see any emotions on his face. He was just completely blank. He didn't even say anything. He didn't even give a statement when he was asked if he wanted to say anything. He didn't even say anything. He didn't even show remorse. He didn't even say sorry for what he did. He didn't acknowledge any remorse whatsoever. What's even more sad was when the attorney for Shanann Watts' family was making a statement to, I think, the jury and the judge, that after he committed the murders, he called the school to unenroll his children. He texted his girlfriend Nicole Kessinger about their future, and he called a real estate agent to sell their house. After all this happened, that's what he did. And in the midst of all of this, Nicole Kessinger had no idea the events that unfolded that day. She had no idea what happened. She didn't know about Shanann going missing until she saw the news. She had no idea that Shanann was pregnant. But she was aware of Shanann, and she was also under the impression that he was getting a divorce. You can kind of tell she kind of naively gave in to his lies, that she kind of naively gave in to him, but it was also said that she wasn't supposed to write or say anything to him, but Chris, being kind of the blabbermouth that he is, he kind of confessed that she had wrote to him, and I don't know if they established a relationship or not. I highly doubt it, but it was just a really twisted turn of events afterwards. He still sits in prison to this day, and it's a really tragic end to 3 kids who had their lives cut short, and a woman whose life was taken, all because he wanted to be with his mistress or his girlfriend. So instead of getting the divorce and dealing with the messiness of the divorce, he took the cowardly way out and annihilated his family, and then sat there and spend a whole bunch of lies. And even through some of the interviews on the TV that they showed, he wasn't even crying at all. He wasn't even showing any remorse. He wasn't even looking like he was worried or anything. And that's what makes this whole thing creepy than what it was. I mean, I don't know what was rolling through his mind. I mean, he sat there in the interview and tried to um, tell himself and them that he didn't do anything. It was kind of like one of those things that reminds me off of the Keepers case where Edgar Davidson kind of got a little physical with his wife. He tried to choke her and said, or it came at her, so to speak, and said that, I could kill you right now and tell myself and everyone else that somebody else did this. And it kind of reminded me of that, because it was almost like he annihilated his family and was telling himself that somebody did it and that they went missing and that he wanted them back and that he wasn't responsible and that he didn't do it. He was also stating in the docuseries that he wasn't responsible for his kid's death, that he was responsible for his wife. He didn't even take responsibility for his kid's death or the death of his unborn son either. So it was almost like he didn't take responsibility for any of it. And that's what makes this whole case so messed up. And what makes this even more messed up is the media and the social medias went after Shanann's family and kind of accused Shanann of making Chris snap, because she was such the dominant one in the relationship. And they thought that she was kind of a mean, rude person, and just was stating really mean things. And even the father, Shanann's father, Frank Reswick, had to make a statement to the media of to get people to stop doing that, because it was becoming so bad that it was just affecting everyone around them, and it was affecting the family, because they were even coming after the parents too. It was just really a rocky case, to say the least. But anyways, in my opinion, I think Chris got what he deserved. It's a tragic end to 4 lives that were cut short. It's sad that had to come to that. I think he took a cowardly way out, and at the end, he paid for what he did, and he ultimately lost his freedom anyways, and he ruined his own life, and that was sad. And it's just a really sad case. But anyways, if you guys haven't hit that red subscribe button and that notification bell that's underneath this video, go hit those up. Also, if you want to stay even more up to date and more notified with everything, go check my social medias out in the description box below this series and this video as well. Also, go check out my old second channel. It has my episodes 1 through 8 on there, and the rest of them are on this channel. I hope you guys have an awesome afternoon, day, or night, or evening, wherever you're watching this from, and I will catch you guys in my next series. Laters.